Hello! Good afternoon po sa ating lahat. Maraming salamat po sa nearly 300 attendees na kasama natin sa hapon na ito. Meron po tayong mga participants from Bulacan, Tanawan City, even from La Trinidad, Benguet. So maraming salamat po. Alam ko na marami pa po kayong ginagawa, pero nandito po kayo ngayon sa 4th day ng aming webinar series. So maraming salamat po lalo na sa mga nag-attend since Monday at kasama namin araw-araw hanggang ngayon. Hello po sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat at kasama pa rin namin kayo ngayon. Para po sa mga kaka-attend lang po today, maraming salamat din po for joining us. Today, alam ko po maraming nagtatanong, paano ba ang assessment sa panahong ito during the online learning, no? So today, we want to answer that through our speakers talk today. Again, thank you for joining our webinar series entitled Education Continuity Plan. Learn how to continue the learning beyond the classroom. So this event is brought to you by Big Pond Enterprises in partnership with Microsoft, NUADU, and St. Augustine Publications, Inc. Yes, and I am Micaela Ramos, the General Manager of Big Pond Enterprises, and I will be your moderator for today. And before we jump right into our session, I have a few reminders for those who are just joining us today. Yes, functioning na po ang aming chat box, so you can send in your comments, questions, and we will read them at the end of the session today. Next, we are very happy to tell you that we are giving away one raffle prize every day, and that is a Microsoft t-shirt and a notebook. So we have already pre-drawn the names. So mamaya po, i-flash na lang namin siya sa screen. At kung kayo po ang nanalo, paki-message lang po kami sa Facebook at sabihin po sa amin ang inyong address para mapadala namin ang inyong mga prizes. Alright? And for those who are asking kung meron po bang certificate ang webinar na ito, meron po. Paano nyo po makukuha yon? Basically, we will be announcing a feedback form link tomorrow, Friday, after the last talk. Pakiabangan lang po sa inyong chat boxes. Mag-a-announce po kami dyan ng link. And once you complete that feedback form, we promise you we will send you an e-certificate in your inbox. So pakilagay din lang po yung email kung saan nyo po gustong matanggap ang inyong certificates. Alright? And for those who are interested to get the free Microsoft A1 license assistance that we are providing, you will also use your certificate of participation that you received from us as proof that you attended our event. So once you've shown us the proof, we will definitely process your application for the license. All right? Clear? Okay. If you have any more questions, just feel free to contact us on our Facebook page on Big Pond Enterprises. Just search for it on Facebook. All right. Okay. So our next speaker will talk about how we can automate assignments and assessments to validate student learning. So hold on. So here with us today is Mr. Sylvester Escobia of NUADU. He is the country representative for the Philippines of the said company. So NUADU is a complete online learning solution integrated in Microsoft Teams, as you've seen yesterday, and a Gold Microsoft partner. It is a learning platform that allows educators to assign and share digital resources and contents for assessment. Equipped with a system to diagnose, analyze learner strengths and weaknesses, as well as provide different contents and resources for remediation in a differentiated or personalized approach. So NUADU has a global presence, namely in the US, UK, Indonesia, Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, South Korea, Bulgaria, and of course, the Philippines. I'm sure you're all excited to hear from our speaker, so let us all welcome Mr. Sylvester Escobia of NUADU.
Yeah, so hi, good afternoon, everyone. And first and foremost, I would like to appreciate everyone for joining this webinar. I know na it's siesta time and you just had your lunch, but you are using that time to learn more on how we continue to move education forward. So we very much appreciate that. And again, thank you so much. So, and Michaela, thank you so much for that very nice introduction. So today, we're going to learn more about NUADU and the automation of assessments and how are we going to assess the students' learning amidst the modalities that we are using for the next school year. So as a start, I would like to share a video. So this specific video is actually the advocacy of NUADU, not only NUADU, but also our partners. And I'm sure it is also the advocacy of other education companies that are working hard and willing to help improve our education system. So let me just share my screen here and then play the video real quick.
NUADU, the future of education is now. That is May. She was born in 2008. And that is Aki, born in 2006. They are both from Generation Z. What do we know about them? They're using mobile phones and they do this constantly. They are also using tablets. They check their social media 100 times a day. They are using YouTube a lot too. It takes them 8 seconds to decide if something is interesting. They access up-to-date information quickly and easily. They worry about the planet. 76% of kids today think they need to help save the Earth. They want, like a lot of their friends, to become entrepreneurs. They want to have an impact and change the world. 85% of the jobs that will exist in 2030 have not even been invented yet. 65% of students will create new professions. What can we do today to help them create the future they want? Make lessons engaging. Let the teachers focus on teaching instead of administration. Let the technology help in objective assessments of grades. Make learning fun and affordable. Increase motivation. Make collaboration possible. Help them reach their goals. NUADU, reach your goals.
Yeah, so there, again, that video pretty much mentions the facts that we have right now and yung advocacy ni NUADU, our partners, and even our competitors or the other education companies that are trying to help improve the education system. So I would say we are together as one for our learning continuity. So what is the message that we have within that video? So just to explain it real quick, it's all about the students or the learners that we have today and even the educators having all these abundant resources that they can use to integrate with education. So dyan na po papasok yung technology-aided education. Now, how is this relevant? This is very relevant because the resources that we have today, we did not have those like 10 years ago. So to summarize, we have to make sure that whatever resources that we have right now, we should be able to use them and integrate them with our education system. So dyan na po papasok yung education in the new normal, which is a technology-aided education for learning continuity. So with the previous topics that we've had for this week, I know everyone have learned a lot. So for those who have not watched day 1, day 2, and day 3, please do so. It's very important because the topics that we have are all connected. So Mr. Paulo Balinas from Microsoft from Microsoft discussed about the education framework for technology-aided education. Cheryl Ramos discussed all about the pedagogies, the different methods, and different approach when it comes to the new normal. And then Ms. Emily Bailon mentioned the pedagogical framework on selecting the online tools that you will need to use. And of course, Sir Mitchell has given us an overview or a detailed overview of how Microsoft works and how it can help with our learning continuity plan or education continuity plan. Now, on the if I'm going to summarize all of them, basically we have a lot of methods that we can use. We have different approaches, different strategies, different tools, and so on. But of course, to start with the learning continuity or our education continuity plan, we have to focus on the essentials first. So this was mentioned by Ms. Cheryl Ramos as well. Like we have to focus, what are the essentials? We have to identify those essentials. What are the aspects of the traditional face-to-face classrooms that we had that we can apply or that we should apply, that it is imperative that it should also be applied in the new normal or in online or remote learning. So here I have listed 4 of them. So these are the things that we need to take note of when it comes to our learning continuity. Kasi nga po, with today's COVID-19, the main obstacle that has to be overcome is the need for social distancing. Now we're all new to this. There would be a lot of adjustment or we need to do some transitions to make the continuity or learning continuity successful. So let's go back to basics. What are the basics that we need to take note of or that we need to address come in the new normal? Of course, first and foremost is the communications. So what are the tools that we will be using for us to provide direct teaching, asking and answering questions, discussing lessons, communicating instructions, and so on. So in the previous normal, I would say that we have, since it's just face-to-face, the teachers would just need to provide or the school will just need to provide printouts about reminders and so on, topics that will be done for the quarter and so on. So it's all done face-to-face. But of course, in the new normal, we have to innovate and do something about it so that we can still deliver everything that we have been delivering in the face-to-face setup. So that's first the communications, and next are the materials. What are the materials that we will be using? So in the face-to-face classroom, usually our materials are yung books natin, yung notebooks, and yung mga printouts ni teacher, or even yung, I would say, the Manila paper na may mga notes ni teacher to help with the discussion of the topic. So how are we going to integrate that with the new normal or with our continuity plan? Of course, as I mentioned earlier, we have abundant resources. We even have DepEd Commons. And of course, I would just like to praise DepEd for for that initiative, wherein the teachers and the students are able to share and access different materials that we can use to continue their learning. So of course, when it comes to the materials, for me personally, the books that we were using before would still come in handy, come in the new normal. So we would I would discuss more about it later on. How are we going to integrate that on our online classes and so on. Next is learning activities and assignments. So how are we going to facilitate these activities, these assignments, the seat works, and so on, different presentations, group discussions, case studies that we have been doing in the face-to-face setup. So that's one thing that you have to consider as well. And of course, last but not the least, is the assessment. So I would say that the assessment if we're just going to mention two factors come in the new normal, that would be the delivery or the modality of our lessons. How are we going to discuss that? But of course, at the end of the day, we are only able to identify if the lessons that we have provided or that we have delivered are useful and indeed the students learned a lot. And that can only be done through assessments. So with these essentials that I've mentioned, I'm sure with a lot of webinars that you have participated and even with the topics that was discussed by Ms. Emmy Bailon, you would now have an idea on what are the different tools that you can use for this. Now, we have also introduced the Microsoft Teams, which I would say is very innovative and very useful come in the new normal. Kasi nga po, although we have made some adjustments na, like after we ended, I would say we have not even been able to end the last school year, but of course the communication with the parents, with the students, between the teachers and the school would have to continue. So how are these done? So in the early days of the quarantine, what we've been using is yung mga social media, emails, and so on. If in case that there are things that the students need to submit to the school or to their teachers, that's what we have been using until now. But of course, with the quarantine measures still in place, and as a matter of fact, the council or the city councils or a group of mayors within NCR have already agreed that it will be GCQ by June. But of course, that is still community quarantine. So we still have to make sure that social distancing is being observed. So with that said, we have to make sure that we have to innovate and create plans or use collaborative platforms like Microsoft Teams to provide a venue for virtual classes. So with Microsoft Teams, as we have learned yesterday, you can give direct instructions, facilitate discussions, conduct activities, and provide presentations and so on. So just pretty much just like what I'm doing right now, like sharing my presentation. So this is actually a good example on how a virtual class will be held within Microsoft Teams. And of course, with the plethora of apps within Microsoft Teams that we can use, specifically NUADU, where you can assess your students and students' progress and get recommended activities based on the assessment that the teacher will provide within NUADU. So now that with that in mind, we will now get to remote learning. So let's say you have your platform, now you have Microsoft Teams, and then you have NUADU on it. So of course, the very first thing that you would do before you provide assessment is you would have to conduct your lessons. So with the remote learning, there are different challenges that we have to face, like distractions, technical issues, and the uncertainty of the length of quarantine that we will have in the future. How long will be the quarantine, gaano pa pakatagal, kailan ba malilift yan, and so on. But of course, as precautionary measure, as much as possible, we want to limit yung mga face-to-face interactions. Now with the remote remote learning, aside from those instructions, we have also different challenges, like yung attention span ng students. I remember Sir Mitchell mentioned about there's one part of his presentation wherein he mentioned how long would the students need to be in front of the computer for it to be for them to learn most of the topics that are being discussed. So doon nilagay niya like with the age gaps or the age range, how many minutes and so on. Of course, aside from those, these are the things that we have to consider to encourage the students' participation. So first is clarify your purpose. Paano po ba to? So if you're familiar with outcomes-based education, and if you have watched Sir Mitchell's presentation yesterday, one of the discussions or the topics that he showed for his class, it includes the learning objectives. So with the new normal, it is very important that the students would know what is the objective of this discussion. What will we be learning within this topic, and how relevant is this? So by providing those, we are able to the students tend to participate more, as long as you have clarified to them what is the purpose of the discussion and how it will lead to the main learning outcome of the subject or the course. Right. So next is the setting clear guidelines. So of course, since this is the new normal, everyone is new to this, the teachers would need to lead the discussion. So not just the discussion, but of course the virtual interactions. So how is this done? Of course, you have to set clear guidelines and expectations. What are the students need to prepare? How long would each online classes would take? What time should they be inside the meeting room already before the class starts, and so on. Because with this, setting the clear guidelines, it would be easier for us to facilitate online classes. Right. So next is, of course, ask engaging questions. So what questions should I ask? So basically for this one, it is pretty much the same with the questions that we are asking in the face-to-face setup. Open-ended question, answerable by yes or no. This would actually make the students elaborate and explain, and it elicits higher thinking and reflection. So good questions also moves the student to analyze, assess, dig deeper, and explore possibilities. So if they are engaged with the questions that you provide, there is a tendency that they would learn more. Not really just a tendency, but it is a guarantee that they would learn more with the online class that you are facilitating. Next is provide diverse activities. So in the face-to-face setup, we have may mga groupings tayo, and then they would report or they would explain a certain topic within the subject. This can be done with the new normal as well, of course, with the use of Microsoft Teams and NUADU. So how? Yeah, like yung providing presentations that I'm doing right now. So it's not imperative or it's not required that only the teachers would provide the discussion. So one way of engaging the students as well is have them do their presentation. So aside from them learning, they are getting well versed with the system that they are using. Because in the long run, with the learning continuity plan, it's actually not just meant to overcome the obstacles that we have with the pandemic. In the long run, we want to make sure that anything that may happen in the future that may suspend the class, we can still overcome those. So that's what we need to take note of. The learning continuity and the platform that we will use, we should be using them with the long-term planning or with a long-term perspective, right? And last but not the least is for the teachers or educators to be able to give or provide valuable feedback. So tell them what they are doing good and what they need to improve on. So dito na po papasok si NUADU when it comes to the assessment. As I mentioned, one of the essentials that we need to focus on would be on assessment as well. Because at the end of the day, after all the discussions that we provided, after all the topics, the only way for us to know if they have learned something is if we have a way to assess them. All right, so let me just go to the next slide. So this would be the topic proper that I will be discussing on how to automate assignments and assessments to validate student learning. So again, this is I'm sure everyone knows how important this is because when with the previous topics or the previous speakers that we've had, everyone or within those discussion, there are teachers or participants who've asked, what about the assessments? How are we going to provide assessments? How are we going to check their proficiency? How are we going to check if they really are learning or whatnot? So comes here, that's where NUADU would come in. So we all know that NUADU is integrated in Microsoft Teams, as shown by Sir Mitchell yesterday. So I'm going to show more about the features and the assessments that we have within NUADU later on. But a quick overview of what NUADU is. It's a groundbreaking online learning platform integrated in Microsoft Teams for students of all ages, used successfully in 8 countries. So with the integration of NUADU and Microsoft Teams, we have created what we call the NUADU Online Classroom. Right. So next is quality contents from renowned publishers aligned with DepEd's curriculum. So we have Big Pond Enterprise and St. Augustine Publications Incorporated, which provides content aligned with DepEd's curriculum. But of course, since we have a global presence, we also have different partner publishers in different countries. Like, let's say, for Singapore, we have SAP, Singapore Asia publishers. And we also have Marshall Cavendish, Five Senses in Australia, and so on. So hindi po tayo mauubusan ng contents that the school can use and the teachers and the students can use for their learning and assessments. So yun nga po, next point is access to thousands of assessments or even add your own for simple and easy to assign exercise with instant scores and results. So that's how the automation would work. Like once a teacher provides a specific assessment on a certain topic or focusing on a certain competency, the teacher can get instant results and even the student's progress report. Now, with that said, since the teacher would have access to those data or information already, then the teacher would be able to provide an adaptive and flexible, personalized, and differentiated learning, enabling students of all abilities to succeed. So, as we all know, for each individual have their own learning pace. So there are students that would learn faster if they write things down. There are students that would learn faster if they hear them. And there are students that would learn faster if they watch a video. And there are students who learn faster if they are actually doing a specific practical activity. All right, so with the use of NUADU, the teacher would be able to identify the strengths and weaknesses and, of course, provide personalized learning, which is aligned or in line with the learning pace of our students. Right now, how can NUADU get you back on track? Now, I know you are wondering, why did I say how can NUADU get you back on track and not how can NUADU help? Please do remember that we were not even able to end the school year properly. So pretty much the calendar that we have from last school year to the next school year, the activities that we have therein have all been derailed. Now, how can we start the next school year if we haven't even ended the last school year properly. So I'm just gonna quote one of the saying that one of the speakers that we've had in our previous webinar by Dr. Ray Revuelta. How are we going to start if we have not ended? So I honestly believe with the statement that he mentioned. So how can NUADU get you back on track? So first and foremost, we have to realize that some competencies that needs to be discussed, or some lessons that needs to be discussed with the last school year have not been discussed. Assessments were not been given for most schools. So meron tayong mga assessment examinations to check their competencies na hindi na natin nagawa. Now, how can NUADU help with that? With the contents that we have from first to fourth quarter aligned with the DepEd curriculum, one of the suggestions that I could give is by the start of the next school year, we can allot some time, like let's say a week or so, to check where the students stand. As we all know, with the curriculum that we have, the competencies that the learners would need to learn in a specific grade level, like let's say grade 6, these are competencies that they need to master for them to be able to learn or adapt or succeed with the next grade level. So for them to understand the lessons, the topics, and the objectives that we have for the next level, they should have mastery of the competencies and the topics of the previous grade level. So with the help of NUADU, the school or the teachers would easily be able to identify what are those topics and competencies that the students come the start of the next school year are having a problem with or are having challenges with. Of course, hindi nga po natin na-discuss. So doing that in a traditional setup, it's going to take a lot of time. But with the help of NUADU, it would be a lot easier. It's just a matter of selecting the competencies that we want to target or that we want to check, and then providing them with the assessment, or I would say at this time, diagnostic exam or diagnostic assessment. And then once we get the result, then we would know how we would start our school year or our first quarter. Of course, a review of the previous topics that have been missed and so on. So that's one way of NUADU helping the schools and the educators get you back on track. Right. Next is instant results and feedback, allowing students to track their own progress and feel confident on their learning journey. So ito nga po yung sinasabi ko kanina, like not only the teachers, but with the use of NUADU, the students would also be able to identify what are their strengths and weaknesses. So from there, they can develop independent learning, like they can review different topics and so on. Next is immediate insights and reports for teachers using powerful analytics that are mapped to your curriculum. So with the assessment that the teachers will provide, the teachers can identify what specific topic and subtopic the students are having challenges with, what are the competencies that have not been met yet, or what are the learning objectives that they need to focus more on, and also even up to the cognitive skills, like remembering, analyzing, and so on. Those skills, we have, the system is equipped with those information or those data that the teacher can readily access. Of course, save time since we have the contents within the platform already, and it's just a matter of clicking some buttons for you to provide assessments. Hindi na siya katulad before, where in a traditional setup, the school would have to print out the assessments or the exercises and then hand it out to the students for the students to answer and then give it back to the teacher. So we will omit those, eventually saving the teacher's time on those admin tasks, and they can focus on teaching. Tulad nga po dun sa video that I've showed earlier, let the teachers focus on teaching. So those are the things that NUADU can help the schools on. Go to the next slide. All right, so before I go to the actual platform, before I show it to everyone and the basic functions, I would just like to summarize the NUADU Classroom. So ano po ba meron sa NUADU Classroom? So NUADU is integrated with Microsoft Teams to provide a full home-based learning solution. Next is safe and secure Microsoft Education License with single sign-on capabilities. Now, what does this mean? Once you have logged into Microsoft Teams, then if you open the NUADU app within Microsoft Teams, you are already logged into your NUADU account. And of course, live classes using clear and stable video conferencing, screen sharing capabilities for classroom activities, Microsoft Whiteboard for interactive activities just like the real classroom or mimicking the traditional whiteboard or blackboard that we have. Easy class scheduling using Microsoft Teams. This is very important kasi nga po we are in the new normal na. How would the scheduling work when it comes to online classes? These are the challenges that we will have in the new normal. So although the teachers would have their schedule and the students the students would have their schedule, but at the end of the day, the student just needs to know kung anong oras sila papasok and anong oras sila uuwi. Kasi once they are at school, automatic na yon, the subjects within the day would progress all throughout the day na, without them taking note of the time or taking note of the schedule. So with the class scheduling features of Microsoft Teams, students will be notified kung anong oras, anong araw, and even reminders prior to the online class. So this thus making sure that our students would not be able to miss any online classes that the teachers would be creating. Right. Next is class teams for efficient communication between teacher and students. So this is I would call this the virtual classroom. So I'm gonna show this to you later on. I believe this has been shown by Sir Mitchell yesterday, but I'm gonna go through it again to explain the basics of the virtual classroom. So pretty much all the interactions that we have, that the original face-to-face setup can be integrated to an online class or an online classroom. So in that room or in that setup, the students can still interact with each other and with the teacher and so on. Right? Next is access to full Microsoft Office 365 online applications. So why is this important? Kasi nga po, we are already, I would say most of the educators and even the students that we've had, they have experienced Microsoft applications na. So hindi na tayo mahihirapan mag-adapt or mag-adjust when it comes to using these applications. Right? And last but not the least is recorded classes for review to ensure even absent students don't miss a class. So I would say this is one of the more important functions that we have within the NUADU online classroom. Kasi nga po, as mentioned previously, there are some challenges that we had to face. Like, let's say yung student nagkaroon ng technical issue, nagkaroon ng power failure sa bahay nila, nawala ng internet connection, or for whatever reason that they have, that they would miss the online class. Since this can be recorded by the teacher, then all the students or all that student needs to do is to view that recording. So in a way, there has been a mention of synchronous and asynchronous learning. So with the recorded classes, it is both synchronous and asynchronous na. Synchronous kasi the student who missed that online class would still feel that he is within that class. And asynchronous because the student can access that recorded class anytime he or she wants or needs. So using basically on his or her own pace. So it is self-paced, but it is still teacher-led. So like having the best of both worlds, I would say. All right, so right now, let me just share the actual platform. Hold on. Just give me one moment. And so this is how the Microsoft Teams would look like. If you would notice, this is the Microsoft Teams has been accessed in a web browser, though it is recommended that you use the app. It's just that yung app po kasi I'm using my main account so that I would be able to present in this webinar. So now, going back to my first slide about focus on the essentials, I would like to do a quick run through of the Microsoft Teams features that are the very basic but very essential. So first off is the Teams. So in a regular or in the traditional setup, the teachers would be assigned their own classes, and usually they transfer rooms para pumunta dun sa isang class and so on. Now with Microsoft Teams and the features that they have in creating your class or creating your virtual classroom, the teacher can easily create their classes within Microsoft Teams. So sample of the classes that I have here is P1 English and P2 Math. So how are we going to create a class? So let me show it to you real quick. So first is click on join or create a team, and then create team, select class. So once you have selected your class, of course, you're going to name the class. So ideally, or what I recommend, is to use the naming convention that your school is using. So usually that's the grade level first. Let's say grade 7 patients. Yeah, and of course, the subject that you are teaching to that grade level. Let's say science. You can also add a description that is optional. And you just have to hit next, and then you will be routed to the part wherein you can now add your students. There are different ways to add your students. You can add them by searching for their name here, or just copy paste their email address here. After which you can just then hit add. So I'm just going to add one for the purpose of this demonstration. There, the student has been added, and then let me go back to Teams. So there. So now this teacher on the account that I'm using right now, the teacher is handling 3 classes. So we have P1 English, P2 Math, and grade 7 patients on science. So now let's go into our virtual classroom. So this is very similar to the group chat that we have in the social media. It's just that there are a lot more that the teacher can do. So I'm not going into the details anymore, but pretty much what this mimic is the actual classroom that we have with the traditional setup. So paano po yun? Like the teacher can chat here, hi everyone, and then the student can reply. The student can put reacts like heart, haha, wow, and so on. And then aside from that, the teacher can also provide announcements here. The schedule of their class will be posted here as well, and so on. And of course, the interaction between students can happen here as well. So if you have a discussion, if the students are would be discussing something within themselves, they can do it here as well. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that we need to make sure of is that we have to create a specific guideline or set a guideline that the students can follow when it comes to the use of the virtual classroom and during our online classes. Okay, so next is the calendar. So just like what I mentioned earlier, yung calendar po natin, that is very important kasi nga it is the actual scheduling of our online classes. So how is that done? So this is basically the schedule of this teacher that I'm using right now, or the teacher account that I'm using right now. So let's quickly create a schedule. Let's say for grade 7 patients, science subject. Now, there are 2 ways to add your students within the online class. You can either add them here or just use your classroom or yung virtual classroom na tinatawag natin. So I want all the students in this class, grade 7 patient science, to be included in this schedule that I'm creating. So basically, this is a science class that would transpire within the week or the month or throughout the school year. So now once we have selected the specific class that should be joining this online class, of course, you have to select a specific time. So if it's just 30 minutes, 3 o'clock to 3:30, and of course, the start date. Now, when it comes to the online classes, the strategy or this would actually depend on the school on how they would implement this. Like, ilang araw ba in a week would the students have online classes, or would they even have face-to-face classes? So that's for the school to decide, depending on the guidelines as well from the DepEd and IATF. But for now, let's just say that every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they are going to do an online class. So go to Occurrence. So this is if you want the specific class or the specific schedule to reoccur. So next is custom. So repeat weekly. Now the start date is today. Let's set it on Monday. Official start day of the school week. Now again, so our online classes will be every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Yeah. And then end date. So let's say if we're just going to run this just for a month or so, then you just have to select for next month. Right? Just put in June 28th. And after that, we hit save and then send. Okay, the system is already loading the schedule here. Now, if you go back to your online classroom or virtual classroom, it will be the schedule of the meeting or the online class will be posted here right away. So now, once the schedule, or let's say schedule na ng online class, all the teacher needs to do and all the students need to do is to go to their calendar and then hit join. Kasi kunyari, for this class, this is 1:30 to 2 o'clock. If it's already 1:30 or 5 minutes before 1:30, magkakaroon na po siya ng join button. So the student and the teacher just needs to click that and they would be able to join the class. So again, aside from the schedule, the system would provide reminders to the students and even the teachers that they have a class within 15 minutes, within 5 minutes, and so on. All right, so I'm not going to go into other areas or other features of Microsoft Teams. Again, these are the essentials. These are these two features are what we need to conduct an online class. Now, so going back to the assessments, as mentioned, the NUADU app is integrated within the Microsoft Teams. So isang app na lang yung kailangan i-access ng teacher and student to provide yung complete solution. So in your first login, you won't be able to find NUADU here. You just have to search NUADU using the search function and then select that. Then just wait for it to load. All right, now I know that most of you would have the questions that most of you would have is, kailangan, do I need a good internet or strong internet connection to access all these or all the features of the platform? As early as now, I would like to tell you that the connection that I'm using right now is mobile data. I'm not using my Wi-Fi, I'm using my mobile data, just to pretty much show you that even just mobile data, and even if it's just 3G, you'll be able to enjoy the features of the platform. All right? So now, this is the teacher's dashboard. I'm going to show you the student's dashboard as well in a bit. So we're just going to run through the different features that we have, focusing on the assessment, of course. But before we go to the assessment, kasi I know once you see this, marami na kayong question, what para saan kaya yung icon na yun, and so on. So might as well do a quick run through of the icons that we have here. So first, the very first thing that you would notice is the activity tile that we have. So this activity tile equates to one activity assigned by the teacher. So the teacher can identify the average score of the class just by looking at it. And again, this will be done real time, or this will be provided real time. So the average score, and then the name of the class, the subject, and the topic for that activity. The grade distribution, how many students got 76 to 100, 51 to 75, and so on. The status of the activity, how many students have finished the assignment or the activity, how many students are currently answering the activity, and how many students have not opened the activity yet. So right away, makikita kagad dyan ni teacher. Now, one more thing that I would like to add about the feature of the activity tile, one of the most useful as well, is the print activity option. So as I mentioned before, when we, the best possible scenario if the school would adopt a specific platform is that they can also incorporate it in their face-to-face classes. So now let's say the teacher, we are doing a traditional setup right now, doing face-to-face, and the teacher would be giving an exam through NUADU. Now, then one student, his or her device happened to malfunction, so he or she was not able to access the activity. Using this feature, the teacher would be able to print the activity for that student. All right, so that the student can answer the exam at the same time as his peers or his or her classmates. All right, so next is the show results. So if you go to show results, basically you will get the overall results of the class. How did the class fare in each question? So right now the view that I have is the overall results for the whole class. So hindi pa siya specific per student. Normally this is used if we want to do item analysis. Like you want to know how many students got this item correctly, how many got it wrong, ilan yung percentage, and so on. Actual item analysis na ginagawa natin for the questions that we create or we provide on a yearly basis, I would say, or on a day-to-day basis. Right, so for each question, so we have 74% here. So this means that 74% of the class got this correctly. Right. Now, within this view, the teacher would be able to provide a personalized feedback. So I mentioned earlier that the teacher should be able to provide valuable feedback. So this is one of the ways that they can do it. They can go with the traditional text-based feedback, like let's say, please review page 6 of our book, and so on, or view the resource that I shared, something like that. Pwede rin siya, if the teacher wants it to be more personalized, the teacher can record his or her message for the whole class. So again, this is for the whole class. So record the voice message, that's one of the capabilities. So this way, yung social aspect when providing feedback, andun pa rin siya. Right now, if the teacher wants to focus on one specific student or wants to find out how that student fared for this given activity, the teacher just needs to select one student here. And then makikita na niya yung actual performance of that student for this activity. And of course, add a comment, a recorded and personalized message for the students when providing a feedback. So that is very, very important. All right, so let me just go back a bit. Next is, if you would notice, we have 1A, 1B maths group. This is basically the class that the teacher is handling. So let's go to one class. Now, if you would notice, we have two views here. We have science and maths. This means that the teacher is handling two subjects for this class, which also happens in the traditional setup that we have. Right? So merong si teacher, dalawa subject yung hinahandle niya for isang class, minsan tatlo, and so on. So it can be viewed this way. So I'm just gonna check on the maths subject. So from here, you'd be able to see the list of your students and their average score per type of activity. So what are these type of activities? So we have the assignments, yung mga, usually mga formative exercises natin. This can be the assignments, seat works, and so on. And then we have the quiz and exam. So in just viewing your class list, you would be able to see and identify yung scores nila right away. And then to promote a competitive spirit within the class, the teacher also has the ability to provide yung what we call the badges. So this is similar for yung mga early childhood levels natin, yung mga NKP and also grades 1 to 3. Yung si teacher magbibigay ng stamp na very good dun sa test paper nila or dun sa kamay. This is pretty much similar to that. So this motivates the students, and of course, this provides a competitive spirit within the class. Next is we have the grouping. So if you would notice, I grouped the class into 2 right now, but basically you can group them into 4. Now, let's say for example, the green group are the class that needs more help when it comes to the subject. So these are the students that are having challenges, and the black group are the students that are excelling on this subject. Right, so I group them into 2 kasi later on we will know how important this is. Once we go to the part where the teacher can provide personalized and individualized approach when it comes to assessments and teaching. Right, so let me just close that out. Now we have the new assignment button here. So new assignment in general, these are the formative assessments that the teacher can provide, and then we have quiz, exam, and the lesson. So we'll go back to this kasi pretty much the platform revolves around this. This is how the teacher would provide assessments to the class after each lesson. So before I go to this, I'm going to run through the other basic features that we have up top, o yung mga tabs natin. Let me just go to the knowledge base. So ano po ba tong knowledge base natin? This is the repository of digital files that the teacher has or would like to share sa students nila. It can be a video, a PDF file, a PowerPoint presentation, and so on. Right? So now, if you would ask me, kasi merong mga questions previously, what specific platform would you suggest to upload videos and so on and so forth. So this feature is already integrated within NUADU. So you have the assessment part, you have the knowledge base part or the repository, and you even have the lessons part if you want to deliver your lesson on a different method or a different strategy. I'll discuss more on that once we get there. All right, so again, knowledge base repository of the resources that the teacher would like to share to the class. Now, what's one of the most important feature of this knowledge base is that, of course, in the wake of online access, so maraming teachers, like there are teachers who would like to create their own resources, and of course, since they are the ones who created that, yung intellectual property rights nila for that resource should be theirs, right? So within this feature of the knowledge base, we are focusing on IP, and as much as we would like to avoid any type of plagiarism. So the resources that the teacher would upload here are all protected. Protected in a way that the students can only view them, they cannot download them. Right, so for those teachers that really love creating their resources and of course would like to share their students, but ayaw nilang kumalat, mapunta sa kung sino-sino lang, then it's best to upload your features here. or yung resources nyo dito. Now, it's relatively easy to upload. Let me just show it to you real quick. Yeah, so of course you have to select a subject. So since the teacher account that I'm using right now is handling science and math, then science and math lang yung nakikita kong subjects na available for me. Now, of course, if the teacher is handling different subjects, like meron din siyang Filipino, English, and so on, then that would appear for that teacher's access as well. Right, so let's say I'm uploading a resource for science, and then I can select the grade level. So I'm teaching grade 7 patients, so I'm going to go with grade 7. And then my topic is, the topic that the resource will discuss would be about doing scientific investigations. And select a subtopic that the resource will focus on, and then you hit next. So from here, you can already upload the file from your computer, or you can link a video from YouTube, from Vimeo, or even an audio file here. And so after that, you just need to add the resource title and the description. So once you're done with this, let me just upload a sample item here para makita natin on how it's done. And I'm just gonna put test, and then next. So right now, the system is uploading the file. Okay, so once the system is done uploading that, the teacher would have the ability to share it to the different classes that he or she handles. So this is very efficient because you don't have to send each material pa isa-isa sa students mo. Like if you are teaching math and 10 sections or 10 classes, then you can share your resources to all of them right away. Now, we have two options. We have two sharing options. Either share it now or share it later. So, kailan ginagamit yung share it later? So, let's say the topic or this specific resource that I'm uploading, next month pa siya itatackle. It's just that I uploaded it kasi nakita ko siya sa open source na page. And I think that it would be very helpful for my topic. Then I can just opt to share it later. Because if you share it now, like select the class and then you share it, then the students within each class would be able to access them right away. So having the ability to do the sharing later, it gives the teacher the flexibility. So let me just delete these. Extra test resources ko dito. Okay, so next is the questions. Yeah, so the questions, so if earlier the knowledge base is the repository of different digital resources that the teacher would share, we have the questions naman dito yung repository ng questions within the platform or link dun sa account ni teacher. Like let's say the school or subscribe to like 12,000 questions for science and math, then everything will be here. So that if the teacher wants to review those questions, he or she can do so. And of course, as mentioned earlier, the school and the teacher can add their own question. So the teacher would have the ability to create a question. But before we go there, I'm actually not going to discuss this in detail, but I'm going to show you the type of questions that the teacher can create. Now, first is the filters that we have. This is the scope. So if you would notice, halo-halo siya dito, then you would just need to use the filter. The scope is the subject, selecting the subject, the topic, and subtopic if you are looking for specific questions. And then we have the rank. Usually, ranking is done by the student pag sinagot nila yung question, and also for the teachers if they are previewing the question. Right? But we're not gonna do that right now. Next is the author. So NUADU questions, so meaning these are questions uploaded by NUADU or that are readily available. Now, if the teacher have created his or her own question, may additional option na lalabas dito would be my questions. Right? And next is yung difficulty level. You can also filter depending on the difficulty level. Yan, we have easy, medium, and hard. So it's color-coded. Hard is orange. Wait. Hold on. So this is medium. Easy is green. And then hard is red. All right. Next is the available question types that can be uploaded in the system. So I know that different subject, different topics, you should have different type of questions that you would have to give to your students. Of course, like kunyari, when it comes to structural formulas, when it comes to chemistry, hindi naman pwedeng ABCD single choice lang siya lagi. So we have structural formula types, reactions, fill in the gaps, in a notebook, questions with task, and so on. So in total, right now we have a total of 16 types of questions. Let me just close that out. Next is the create question view. So for the create question, of course, again, you have to select what specific subject, the grade level, topic, and the subtopic. Hit next. And then these are the type of questions that the teacher can upload by themselves. Right, so we have 6 types. And again, if you want to add another type of question, you can contact us through chat, as mentioned here. If you would notice where the chat box is, it's here. It's the pink one. It's the pink icon. Parang sa Facebook, ito yung bubble, the chat bubble. If you click that, you can interact with our chat support team. Again, our chat support is 24/7. So if you would have any problems within the platform, we'll take care of that for you. All right. So let me just close that. So again, hindi ko na po ipapakita muna yung, I will not show the question creation part kasi this is actually one of the advanced features that we have with the platform, and a specific training should be done for this, or a specific, we need to set a different date and set specific time for the training for creating the question. Next is the lesson. So this is one of the very useful functions, although every function that we have in NUADU is useful. I would say this is one of my favorites as well. Kasi this part is you can combine the knowledge-based resource and the questions to create a specific lesson. So let me just show you how it's done. So when you create a lesson, you select a specific resource within the knowledge base na in-upload na ni teacher. So let's say I'm just gonna select this to a PDF file and then a video. And then I can select questions. So how is this important? Because for every lesson, like if we provide a specific discussion within the lesson, it is very important that we know the initial understanding of the student for that topic and the final understanding, or the part where we provide the assessment. We find out if the student really learned something from the resource that we've shared or from the lesson that we provide. So for now, let me just select 2. I'm just going to select random questions right now. And then, of course, select a specific topic and subtopic that this lesson would be focusing on. All right, so this is the preview of the lesson. So the first thing that the student needs to do is to view a PDF file. After that, they would need to view or watch a video, and then answer 2 questions. Now, if you would notice, the first, in the structure, the first one that has been selected or was set was the first one that I've selected earlier. But, of course, let's say ako si teacher, I want to know their initial understanding first. What do they know about the topic? So then I'm going to ask a question first. And then the students would go through the resources that I've shared and then ask another question to check if they have understood. And then I can compare if mas okay yung understanding nila on that topic based on my comparing the answer to the first question and the second question. Right, so I'm not going anymore because I have a pre-saved lesson here. Right, so just to show you how it would look like. Now, how can we use this? So again, as I've mentioned, we have different methods of teaching, different methods of learning, and so on. Now, this feature can be used, or you can actually combine all those methods that you want to use with the use of NUADU. Like if you want it to be synchronous, asynchronous, if you want it to be self-led or teacher-led, and so on. So say, for example, this lesson that I have, the teacher would adopt a flipped learning style. So before the actual online class, I'm going to provide all the resources that I have for that topic so that the students would already have an understanding on the lesson before we even started. So pwedeng mag-assign si teacher ng lesson sa students niya. In this case, the students would have also, so the topic that we have right now is prime and composite numbers. So the students would have to watch the video first, and then after that, answer a puzzle or a quiz via quizzes. So you would just need to open the link by clicking open here. And then after that, ask questions. Now, once the online class have started, katulad nga nung with the, what do you call this, with the discussion that Ma'am Cheryl Ramos made on last Monday. When it comes to flipped learning, you would start with the first two levels of the cognitive skills, and then once you are inside the classroom or doing the online class, you would focus more on the higher level of the cognitive skills. Right, so that's one of the ways wherein we can apply the digital resource that we have in the lessons with the use of Microsoft Teams and NUADU in using the different strategies and methods that we have in teaching, different pedagogies and so on. All right. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to type it in sa Q&A box natin, and then we would happily answer that later on. Right, next is progress. So dito na po papasok yung analytics, diagnostic reports, and so on. Now, if you go to the progress tab, you would be able to select a specific subject that of course you are handling, and then what specific class, you can filter that out too, and the period. So period, like what specific result or progress report does the teacher wants to see. So pwedeng gawin niyang monthly, pwedeng weekly, pwedeng quarterly. It depends on the teacher on how he or she wants to view the results. Right, now we have 4 different views here. So we have activities, topics, curriculum, and cognitive skills. So activities, this is similar to the traditional class record that we have. So we have all the activities assigned by the teacher here, yung mga assignment, quiz, and exam, lahat nandito sa gilid, the titles. And then the average score of the class, let me just zoom it in. Yeah, make it bigger para po mas makita nyo. Okay, so we have the average score of the whole class and the individual scores of each student. So just by looking at it, the teacher would already see, oh, si Junior McPherson is only at 20%. So the teacher wants to know more, bakit 20% lang yung nakuha ni Junior. So just by clicking the score, the system will route the teacher dun sa show results page na pinakita ko kanina, specifically for Junior. Yeah, the teacher can then review questions within that activity and kung ano yung mga sagot na binigay ni Junior that ended up him having just 20%. Right, so from here, the teacher can have a general view yung sa scores ng students. And then we have the summary or average score per type of activity. So assignment or the formative activities that we have, quiz and then exam, average score of the class.
and also yung individual average. Now we have print report in Excel and print in PDF. So this is very important kasi like, of course, you have the school would have their own grading system on how they record the scores and so on and so forth. Having this capability, the teacher can easily transfer the data from the platform or the scores from within the NUADU platform to the grading system that the school is using. So since naka-Excel na siya, it's just a matter of copy-pasting the data. Alright, so now that is activity. So as I mentioned earlier, this is just a general view. Now, from left to right, activities, topics, curriculum, cognitive skills, it will become very specific na. So of course, topics, basically what the teacher wants to look at is yung mastery ng students natin when it comes to the topics that have been discussed. So right now, the topics that we have, so this is for grade 4. So for grade 4, the topics that we have are multiplication and division of whole numbers, numbers and number system, and so on. Just by looking at the general view, the class is only at 22%. Now, once you click that, the subtopics will appear here. So just to show you, like numbers and number system, the subtopics would appear here. So of course, right now the mastery is 65% kasi hindi pa tayo tapos discussing other subtopics. Now, since we now have a view on, let's say more on the molecular level, or a more specific level ng topics or ng subject natin. So it's not just math that you're seeing. You are already seeing the main topic and the subtopic. Then this is the part wherein you can apply personalized and individualized learning. So how? Now, if you would notice, we have two icons here. We have the group icon and the dumbbell icon. So I'm just gonna go over the subtopics so that it is more detailed. Now, if you click on the group icon here, you will see the individual performance or individual mastery, I would say, of the students. So numbers and number system. Again, this is not really, this is related to the activities or yung assignments, quiz, and exams na pre-provide ni teacher, but this does not show the score, the percentage that we have here is not the score of the students for those activities. This is their actual mastery of the topic. All right, so just by looking at it, Ariel, Junior, and Miles, 66, they're at 60% range. So I guess they need help on this topic or on this subtopic. Now, once you select those students, the teacher can then provide retraining. So if you select those, if you select training, the system will pull up all the questions available in the system that is targeting or specifically related to this subtopic that we have selected. All right, and then from there, you just need to assign it. So select 2 questions and then hit assign. All right, so that's how individualized learning can be done. Just go back a bit. Now, the dumbbell icon, if you use this one, you will assign training exercises to all the students within that class. Now, again, as I've mentioned, training exercises. So if these exercises are pretty much just are ways to improve their mastery without affecting the grade of the entire class or the scores of the entire class. So let's say the average ng exam ni junior is 70%. Even if you provide training here, they would still get that specific average. Kasi nga, the exercises that we have provided are training exercises. So they are not recorded, I would say. All right, so that's for the topics view. Now, next is we now go to curriculum. So dito na po papasok yung mga learning objectives and learning competencies natin. So for example, for grades 4 math, first quarter, numbers and number system. So these are all the competencies that the students or the class should have achieved by the end of the topic or the discussion. So of course, just what I'm relating this page dun sa discussion that I made earlier about the tips that on how we engage the students, coming to the clarifying the purpose. In an online class, we can already put there the learning objectives or yung outcome or yung competency na dapat na meron na yung mga students natin by the end of the discussion. So it is linked here. So kunyari nag-discuss ako about numbers and number system kanina, I specifically showed them that our learning objective is about you being, by the end of the discussion, you should be able to give the place value and value of a digit in numbers up to 100,000. Right, so that's one sample. So right now, just by looking at it, teacher can identify, oh, my class is only at 77% for this specific competency or learning objective. So I want to find out why. All right, so kanina, if you would notice, when we went to the topic and subtopic view, si Ariel, or hold on, sino pa ba? Ito. Like si Miles, 67% siya, if I remember it correctly. Dun sa subtopic, he was at 61%. Right? This is a different percentage. Yung percentage naman po dito, this is very specific to this learning objective or yung competency natin. So from here, you would already identify sino yung mga students na nahihirapang mag-provide ng place or give, they are having challenges when it comes to giving the place value and value of a digit in numbers up to 100,000. So these three students that we have here. So again, just like the same view that we've had earlier, just select these students and then do training exercises. So aside from these training exercises, of course, the teacher can provide additional resources as remediation. So it's not necessarily just exercises, but of course, resources as well na in-upload na ni teacher within the platform. All right, so next is yung cognitive skills. So kanina, we viewed yung topics, curriculum. Now we are checking the proficiency na or nung class natin when it comes to the cognitive skills. So we have remembering, applying, evaluating, understanding, analyzing, and creating. Now we have remembering at 73%, which is very unusual kasi before the students would be able to master the other the higher level of the cognitive skills, of course, yung remembering pinakauna yan, dapat yan yung una nilang ma-master. Alright, of course, you want to check kung ano yung actual proficiency or mastery ng students natin with the cognitive skills. And just by looking at it, we have Judah Von, 33%. 33% are remembering. So we can say that Judah Von is a really forgetful student. So makakalimutin po siya. Alright? So anyway, kidding aside, the teacher would be able to identify that Judah is having a hard time remembering the topics and the exercises and so on. Then the teacher can select Judah and do a retraining that would specifically target yung remembering skill ng Bloom's taxonomy. Of course, if you hit training, the system would show you all the questions related dun sa remembering skills, as I've shown dun sa topics and curriculum view earlier. Just close that out. Hold on, let me just go back a bit. You select and then train. Ayan. So that's for the cognitive skills. Again, so those are the icons that we have here. Group icon to show the results of each student or proficiency of each student. And the dumbbell icon is to provide additional retraining for the whole class. All right, now I know you are wondering paano naman po kami mag-assign ng actual exercises kasi what I've shown so far is how to assign training activities. So now let's go to the actual assessments that we will be providing sa class, sa students natin. So again, as I mentioned earlier, we have the new assignment, new quiz, new exam, and new lesson. Now, if you assigned an activity using this button, the teacher would have the ability to check the progress of each activity. Right? So kunyari sa lesson, kasi we have the lesson page here or the lesson tab, wherein the students can view the lesson. But if the teacher assigns the lesson to the class, the teacher would see how many students have opened the lesson or have completed the lesson, how many students have not viewed the lessons or have not opened the lessons yet, and how many students are currently viewing the lessons. So ganun po siya ka-specific. So aside from the teacher being able to assign the activities at hand, the teacher can also have a real-time monitoring kung ano na yung ginagawa ng students niya. All right, now just to show the difference between the three, let's start with, for the new lesson, this is, I'm gonna skip this, I'll start with the new assignment, I'll go with new assignment, new quiz, and new exam. All right, so for the new assignment, again, this can be the formative assessments that we provide sa students natin, which is very important, specifically if we want to make sure that learning objectives on sa topic that provide natin within the online class are hit or are obtained. All right, so of course, select a class. Hold on, sorry, let me go back. I'm gonna go with math. To show you the grouping that I did earlier. And so we can, again, we can apply individualized learning within the progress view and also when providing an actual activity sa class natin. So this is how it would look like. So for class 1A, I actually grouped them into two. So I have, the teacher would have the ability to assign the activity either to everyone, to just one student, to a group, or to a specific group. So how would this work out, or how do we apply this when it comes to differentiated learning? So of course, as I mentioned earlier, I group the green group are the students within the class that are having challenges with the specific topic or with the specific subject. So if I'm going to assign the activities to them, of course, I would start with the easy and medium difficulty level questions. Now, since yung black group is excelling, then I can assign medium to hard difficulty questions. So that's how it would work. So for now, let me just assign an assignment to one student, which I have prepared, because I'm going to show you the student's dashboard as well. So hit next. And then same with the questions view earlier, we have filters as well. So yung scope, pretty much scope has been done within the first part. And then the type of question assigned before. So if you want to see the questions assigned before or questions that have never been assigned yet. So madali na siyang i-filter. Author, of course, again, is NUADU questions uploaded by NUADU or questions uploaded by the teacher. Next is randomizing the number of questions that we have. So for this topic and subtopic, we have this total of questions. So we have a total of 44 easy questions, 53 medium difficulty level questions, and 44 difficult questions. So the teacher wants a 15 an activity with 15 questions with different difficulty levels, then pwede niyang iset dito. Right, so I would like the system to choose for me. I just want 5 easy questions, 5 medium questions, and 5 difficult questions. Right, and then the system will pull up those questions that you have, or the number of questions that you have selected. And it's just a matter of selecting them all, or okay, nagbago isip ko, I think I'm just gonna assign one each. Ayan. All right, so the teacher can just assign one question with different difficulty levels. All right, so for now, I'm just going to assign one question. All right, the summary view. So again, for the summary view, the difference between quiz and exam would be, or regular assignment and quiz would be within the summary view. For the regular assignment activity that we have, or seat work, or yung mga formative assessments natin, the restriction of the system there's almost no restriction. Kasi all you have to set is the due date. So let's say I set the due date for tomorrow. Once I assign this, the student can answer the activity anytime from the time that I've set, or from the time that I've assigned the activity until the due date. So as long as it's within the due date, let's say 10 questions, when the teacher assigned the activity, nakita ni student kagad, and then the student answered 5 questions, then napagod na siya. And then the student can go back to that activity and then answer it again. So anytime, as long as it is within the due date. Right? But of course, if it's after the due date, the student won't be able to go back to that activity anymore. So again, please take note of that. That is the restriction that we have with the regular assignment, or the formative assessments that we can provide to our students. Now let's go to quiz. All right, let me select math again. Grade 6. Select the topic and subtopic. Select the class. Just gonna select Arial here. All right, so same process as what we've done with the regular assignment or the regular activity. So I'm just gonna select one question so that we can proceed to the summary view. Yeah, so also, if in case you have already provided that the activity for that certain topic or the questions to that specific student, the system would actually remind you that you have already given an activity within the selected scope. Right? Because of course, the scope that I've selected dun sa activity that I've assigned just now is the same with the scope that I'm selecting right now. So anyway, let me just go ahead and assign. And then we will go to the summary view. So if you would notice, the summary view that I have with the regular activity that I've assigned earlier was just the due date. Now we have more options, or I would say restrictions. So we have quiz in class and quiz at home. So let me provide the difference between the two first. So quiz in class, this is like the traditional quiz that we provide dun sa face-to-face setup natin, like sabay-sabay sila. They will start at the same time, and then there's a given duration. So kunyari 30 minutes or 20 minutes lang, kailangan matapos nila yung activity. Right? And then we have an option to set it as an announced quiz or an unannounced quiz. So the difference is, if it's an announced quiz, the moment the teacher assigns the quiz, makikita na ni student yung quiz. But of course, since we have set the start date and the start time, they cannot open it yet. So hindi pa nila pwedeng sagutan kagad kasi nga dapat sabay-sabay silang sasagot. And it all begins on the date and the time set by the teacher here. Next is yung unannounced quiz. This option would be after ma-assign ni teacher yung quiz, hindi siya kagad makikita ni ng students natin. The quiz will only be shown to the students 5 minutes before the actual start time of the quiz. Yung parang mga surprise quiz ni teacher na hindi napaghandaan ng mga students on the traditional face-to-face setup natin. And then we have the anti-cheat system. So here, the order of questions will be randomized for each student. So the basic randomization, we actually have two, within the anti-cheat system that we have two types of randomization. The basic randomization and the more advanced or the advanced randomization. The first one is, let's say the teacher would assign 10 questions for the quiz. And then yung number 1, the number 1 to 5 questions is student A can be the number 5 to 10 questions of student B. Or yung number 1 question is student A is the number 10 question of student B, and so on. So that's just the basic. Now, what is this advanced randomization that we have? This is the real-time randomization. Like, let's say student 1. The 10 questions dun sa quiz na binigay ni teacher, we have 10 questions. Student 1 has already answered questions 1 to 5. Next is yung question number 6. Medyo nahirapan si student, so he decided to skip it and then go to question number 7. Then natapos na ni student yung question number 7, babalik siya sa question number 6. Once, when the student goes back to question number 6, it will then be a different question. So the question number 6 that he was seeing before is now question number 10. And yung question number 10 right now, or the question number 10 before, is yung question number 6 na. So as long as the student has not completed the questions, kunyari questions number 1 to 5 lang natapos niya, and then yung question 6 to 10 hindi pa natatapos, the system will continuously randomize those questions, yung numbering ng questions na yun. So it will continuously jump. So yung question number 10, pwede siyang pumunta sa 8, pwede siyang pumunta sa 9, pwede siyang pumunta sa 7, pwede siyang pumunta sa 6. So that's one of that's the more advanced randomization that we have with the system, or with the anti-cheat system. Right, next is yung quiz at home naman. So quiz at home, on this part, the teacher just needs to send an end date or yung due date plus the duration of the quiz. Now, if you would notice yung duration natin, now if the teacher would say, let's say 30 minutes yung provide niya for that quiz, the students, once the student starts it, the students need to finish it within 30 minutes. If he tries to exit out of that quiz, he or she will receive an alert that if he or she exit out of that quiz, mafo-forfeit na yung mga questions na hindi niya sinagutan. And paano kung na-late si student? So let's say for the quiz, let's go back to quiz in class. The start, say for example, the start of the quiz is at 4 o'clock today, 4 o'clock p.m. today. Si student, binuksan na niya 4:15 na and 30 minutes lang yung duration ng quiz. The student would only have 15 minutes to finish that quiz. And that's how it works. That's how the duration works. Now yung for quiz at home, going back to quiz at home, since yung end date lang yung siniset ni teacher, once ma-assign ni teacher yung quiz, anytime within the end date, the student can answer the quiz, but of course, it is still time restricted. And hindi siya pwedeng lumabas. If he exits out of that quiz, then mafo-forfeit yung mga questions na hindi pa niya sinagutan. Alright, so let me just set a quiz at home to give you an example. And then I'll just set it to 15 minutes. Ends at tomorrow. You set the time and then you confirm. So I use quiz at home so that I can answer it right away within this presentation. Alright, so let me just assign it to Ariel again. Yeah, so this is how the activity tile would look like if the teacher have just assigned an activity. So again, real time yung status natin. So if nobody has started the quiz yet, this is the message. And if meron ang sumasagot and so on and so forth, then it will be updated here. All right, so next is the exam. All right, so exams are pretty much the same with the quiz when it comes to the restrictions. The additional ones that we have here, yung exam type, by default this is NUADU exam. Because to explain, we actually have other exam types, like let's say for the language exams, IELTS, TOEIC, and so on. If the school is linked to that content, then you would have the option to change the exam type. All right, now what are the restrictions, or what are the things that we can set for this exam? So same with the quiz. So quiz in class, you can set the start date and the duration. Now, as you can see, walang exam in class and exam at home. Kasi you would have to, the only additional feature within this exam that mimics or that is similar to quiz at home is yung end date. But it's not, this is optional. Like if you set a start date and then end date at the same time, let's say start date is right now and end date is tomorrow. So meaning anytime from today until tomorrow, the student can answer the exam. Of course, the duration is still set there. Same with the quiz. If the student is late in opening the, or for if you set, if you set a specific due date, wala na yung, kunyari, na late si student ng pag-open ng exam, agad may-use up na yung 15 minutes niya. It doesn't work that way anymore. He would still have the full duration if you set a due date. Now, if you don't set one, let's say yung start date lang yung sinet natin and 30 minutes here, if na-late si student sa pag-open nung activity, then malilate din siya ng, mababawasan yung time niya to answer that activity. Right. Now, what is this instant results? So for the face-to-face class, for the face-to-face setup that we have, in the usually the exams are taken all at the same time, and the students don't get their results right away. Kasi nga ibabalik pa yan sa teacher, tapos the teacher will mark it, and then will put a score, provide feedback, and so on and so forth. Now, for this instant results, if you turn this on, let's say we have 10 students doing or answering the examination right now, and then 5 has already finished. Yung 5 students that have already finished the examination, they can already see their results. They can see their scores, they can see what item they got wrong, and then what item that they got correctly. So ideally, or what's recommended, is to have this off, so that the students would, all of the students would need to wait for everyone to finish before they can see their results. So again, this would, how should I say this? This would minimize the ability or yung instances natin, mga cheating instances, like si student tapos na dito and then binigay niya yung sagot kay student B and so on. Of course, since wala pa siya, no actual result, he doesn't know kung anong kung tama ba siya dun sa question na yun or mali, right? And anti-cheat system, same with the quiz, the randomization is the questions are continuously randomized for each student. Right, so I'm not gonna assign this anymore, just the quiz and the regular activity that I've assigned earlier. So then that's the overview of the teacher's dashboard and giving out the assessments within the NUADU platform. Now let me go to the student's dashboard. So let me just unshare this one. Go back. And all right, so now this is how the student's dashboard would look like. So if you would notice, the activity that I've assigned, wala pa siya dito kasi I have not refreshed the page yet, or this page has been open for quite some time kanina pa to prepare for the presentation. But we have the notification here, parang sa social media platforms natin, to start quiz and start homework. So with this, the student can start the activities by clicking the notifications that we have here, or like let's say kakalagin lang ni student, just refresh the page. There, that's the first, the new activities will actually be the first options or the first thing that the student will see. All right, now before I go into the details of the NUADU platform for the students view, let me just go back dun sa Teams. All right, so this is how the student would view it. So 7 patient science, these are the subjects that the students are currently enrolled to, I would say. So of course, in the actual account, the student would have multiple subjects here. So for science, ito yung virtual classroom namin kay Science, and then again, the teacher can or the student can interact with other students and with the teacher. So, hi teacher. Let me just put in hi teacher here, and then nag-hi si teacher kanina. Let me just like it. Right, and ito pala yung schedule namin for the online classes. All right, so if you would notice, the view of the students is almost similar with the teacher's view. Or I would say very similar. Next is yung calendar. All right, so for all the classes that the student has, naka-schedule na lahat ng online classes niya. If you would notice, may join button na dito because this class is already undergoing and the student is actually late na. Pretty much the student just needs to click join and then he or she will be able to join the class. Okay, so just wanted to do a quick run through on the student's view when it comes to the Microsoft Teams. Now let me go back to the NUADU app. All right, so this would be the activity tile. So it's almost, if you would notice, it's almost the same with the teacher's view. Ang wala lang dito is of course yung class, kasi this is specific for the student. So these are the badges that I have. Yung mga binigay na badges sa ni teacher. So again, makikita kagad yan ni student. So it provides additional motivation. Now yung progress dito and then progress here, they are the same. So let me just click on this one or on this icon. And then yung view ni student is almost similar with the teacher as well. But of course, what the student can see is only his or her scores. And so just by viewing or just by going to this view, makita na the student can review yung scores niya within the past exercises. So from there, he would have an idea on what are the things that he or she needs to work on. Especially if he or she goes to topics view. All right, so I'm only 69% when it comes to estimated product. Okay, let me check the questions that I've answered related to this subtopic. Yeah, so this will serve as his reviewer na din. Like, yung sa traditional setup natin, yung mga students before, usually they would collect yung mga papers nila, their worksheets, and then they can use it as their reviewer. So same goes with the NUADU platform. It is easily accessed by the students. Now, the exercises, the training exercises can be found here as well. So kanina yung sa teacher's dashboard, we have the group icon and the dumbbell icon here. Now we also have a dumbbell icon here for the student, but that dumbbell icon will only appear if the teacher has provided training exercises. So dito sasagutan ni student yun. All right, so same with the curriculum view and the cognitive skills. Yeah, so 0% ako right now. It's just a second quarter. So yeah, so the student themselves will know where they at when it comes to the learning objectives dun sa lessons natin. And of course, the cognitive skills. And so makikita din so when it comes to the granular view or the more specific view when it comes to topics, subtopics, when it comes to the curriculum and cognitive skills, the students would have access to those as well. All right, so let's just go back. So knowledge base, dito makikita ni student yung mga resources na shinare ni teacher. So same with the lessons. There. So it's very, very similar. Next is yung, let me just discuss something about the new self-study here. This is, I know that it's very, you can see this right away kasi para siyang new assignment ni teacher. Now this feature, this would allow the student to actually assign exercises for his or himself. Now for the students to have this capability is that the school needs to set the number of questions, or what are the questions that the students can use as or for self-study. So either the school or yung partner publisher natin or yung content provider they can set a number of questions that the students can use for self-study. So if the certain publisher have activated that, then, or if the school has activated that, then the students can do self-studies or assign activities for his or himself. All right, so now let's go to how does the student answer. How would the student answer the questions for each activity? So it's very easy. Again, the student can just go to the notifications that we have here, or the start button that we have here. So I'm just going with the start button. Okay, so this I only assigned one question. So this is how it would look like. If you would notice, this is just a regular assignment. Now, if I save and exit, since the due date is tomorrow, then I can continue. Right, so the due date is actually on Friday. Yes, Friday, tomorrow. And it's in progress. Hindi ko pa sinagutan, so I'm still 0. So let me just hit continue. Now, I'm just going to put in an answer here. So for mathematical equations, the students would have an option to put in equations as well. But for right now, let me just answer. Let me just put in something just to answer it. And then hit check. Answer again. So now, since this is a medium difficulty question, when it comes to formative assessments or yung regular activities tagged as assignments within the platform, depending on the difficulty level and the type of questions, they can have multiple attempts. So baka nagtataka kayo, one question, bakit 75%, bakit 66% yung student done? How did that happen? It's because of the number of attempts. Now, this is only for the regular activities. Now, let me just answer it again. Let me just put a wrong answer again. Oh, sorry. Check. Okay. Now, I have answered the question incorrectly. So this is one of the difference between the formative assessments or regular assignments that we have from the quiz and exam. If the student fails to answer it correctly, the system will provide the correct answer. And if there is a set solution, because the teacher or for each question, the system has also the capability wherein the teacher can put in the step-by-step solution. So if the students answered incorrectly, they can see the correct answer, and they can also see the step-by-step solution provided by the teacher for this specific question. But since this specific question that I've selected is not linked with any step-by-step solution, it did not show here. All right. So that's for the regular activities. So again, for the regular activities, there would be a number of attempts depending on the difficulty level of the question, and depending on the type of questions as well. So let's say true or false siya, and then it's a difficult question. Of course, it will just be one attempt kasi two options lang yung meron si student. All right, so now let's start the quiz. So yung quiz at home natin. Yeah, so the very first thing that the student will see if he starts the quiz is after you start the quiz, you cannot stop the timer. That's why you make sure you have 15 minutes of uninterrupted time. All right, so let's just go ahead and activate the quiz. Now the remaining time will be shown here. So remaining time is 14 minutes, 50 seconds. And it's running right now. So yung regular assignment kanina, or yung regular activity, I tried saving and exit, and then naka-exit ako, and then I was able to continue it. Now, what happens if I use save and exit here? Yeah, as I mentioned, the system will provide a reminder to the student. If you finish the quiz, you cannot continue it later. Are you sure you want to finish this quiz? So either yes, I finish, or just a second if hindi pa tapos. So meaning the student cannot exit the quiz if they're not done with it yet. Again, let me just put in any answer here and then hit check and then save and exit. Yes, I finished. So if you would notice, I have provided the same type of question or the same exact question for the two activities. Dun sa quiz, the student was not given any attempts. So it's just strictly one attempt. Right, so for quiz and exam, it's strictly one attempt, no matter what type of question, no matter the difficulty level as well. All right, so that's pretty much how the dashboard would look like for the student's view. Now, let me just go back to the teacher's view one more time. Because we also have, because with the NUADU and or the NUADU online classroom, we have different access for different stakeholders. So we have the students access, the teachers access, we have the principals access or the directors access, and the parents access. Now we have we have also another access, which is technically a teacher's access as well. But this is what we call the head teacher or yung tinatawag nating subject area coordinator. Because in the traditional setup, the subject area coordinator, yung mga head teachers natin, they are the ones choosing the activities or yung mga questions for departmentalized exams or departmentalized activities. So within NUADU, the head teacher would have that access wherein he or she can assign the same set of questions, the same set of activities to all the subjects or to all the classes within the grade level that the teacher is assigned to or yung head teacher is assigned to. So, hindi na si teacher mag-assign, the actual teacher of the class, he or she will not be the one to assign anymore. So, since anyway, the subject area coordinator or head teacher will be the one to decide what questions will be provided to the students, then the subject area coordinator can just assign the activities to the students right away, to all the class that they are handling. All right, now, how would the teacher see that? The teacher would still see that, yung regular teacher can still see that. And as a matter of fact, we have the assigned by me here. So yung filter ng teacher's view is assigned by me, assigned by other teachers, or assigned by all the teachers. Right, so that's the additional function that we have when it comes to the teacher's dashboard. All right, so anyway, let me just unshare my screen and then let me show you for the principals or the head teachers that we have viewing or that have joined this webinar. I would like to show a quick view of the admin panel or the performance monitoring that we have within NUADU. Share it. Just give me one moment. Is it this one? Let me just check if this is. Oh yeah, it's this one. You share it. Now, let me just make sure that there is sound. Although the volume of this presentation is very low, you might not hear it as well. So let me just play it anyway. Just gonna do a voice over here. So this is how this quick view of our school admin panel or the director's access. It helps carry out operational diagnosis when it comes to the usage of the platform. So dito na po pumasok yung performance o yung sa principal natin within each department. They are monitoring different. So with the traditional setup, they have this. They are managing yung strategies and developments within their departments. So within the use of the NUADU online platform or the NUADU online classroom, they would also have another access that they can use to view the actual performance or the login ratio and so on and so forth of the classes or of the students within the school and also with the teachers. So here on this view, we can see the login ratio. So we have the login ratio here, there. So the principal or the director can see how many out of all the students that we have, how many have already logged in, out of all the teachers that we have, how many have already logged in, and the overall login ratio. So this is student combined with the teacher's login ratio. Then we also have the parents access. It will also be shown here. It's just that within this snippet, it's not shown, or the specific school did not activate the parents login. So for the assigned activities, so the director or the principal can also see the total number of assigned questions and the total number of assigned questions, comparing it per cases. Same with the class activity. If the principal would like to compare each class, number of exercises, the average of each class, and the teacher's activity. So each teacher, how many, what's the average number of questions each teacher have assigned? And then what's the opening ratio for each teacher? Meaning how many out of the questions that the teacher have assigned, how many of those questions were accessed or were opened by the students? Of course, again, the average score of the students will be shown. So, of course, as a summary, what we need to see everything that is essential to the functions of the student. Okay, so anyway, to summarize, with all the features that I've shown and how the assessments are being assigned and how the teachers can provide diagnosis and remediation, let me give you a quick summary of the WIFMs, or what's in it for me for each education stakeholders. So for the learners and the teachers, we have pretty much discussed that, the different features and capabilities that they have within the platform. Now let's proceed to the parents. So for the parents, again, they would have their own access. They can see the progress and the scores of the students dun sa activities that were assigned by the teacher. So pretty much, they would already have an idea what are the strengths and weaknesses of their child as well. So again, this is very important because when it comes to the traditional setup, come remediation time, yung tinatawag nating parents-teachers conference or meeting, wherein they talk about the progress of the child. So the discussion can now be focused on what are the strategies or the things that the teacher and the parents can do at home to help with the learning pace or with the progress of the student. So that's just one. And then let me proceed with the principal. So again, yung performance monitoring, the view of the school admin earlier, with the insights that the system can provide, the principal or the director can easily strategize or provide improvements and their implementation plans to increase the efficiency of the platform and also the usage of the students and the teachers and the parents. So now for the school, or the government, if you have, let's say, you are part of a school wherein it has different branches, then let's say there's the main school or a group of school with 5 branches. The main school or the president or whoever heads all the group of schools would have access to the performance of each school. So their comparison can be made, different strategies to improve each school may happen with that insight. So let's say yung school 1, medyo mababa yung performance nila, and then yung school 5, medyo magaling. Then the school, the head of the group of school can discuss with the head of school 5, what are the strategies that they've adapted and so on and so forth. Then they can standardize that throughout all the group of schools that they have. All right, so those are just some. I have listed a lot here, but I don't really want to go into detail na because of the time. Masyado ng marami. I have already take up so much of your time, and I really don't want to take more. So anyway, those are the WIFM. So what are the things that you get with Microsoft Teams plus NUADU Online Classroom, or the NUADU Online Classroom, I would say. Of course, training and implementation support. So it's a full implementation planning service for your school. So ano po ba itong mga implementation planning natin? So these are the training dates, training schedules, how do you want to implement the platform, and so on. Pwede rin dito papasok yung or most of the students, would they be mostly using mobile devices, or would they mostly be using laptops, and so on and so forth. So that we can have a unique implementation that is focused on what the resources on what the resources the students in the school has. All right, and of course assistance on BELCP formulation. Just so you know, for some of the schools that have already partnered with us, their BELCP has already been approved as well. So they can start the school year and they are ready for the challenges that we will have with the next school year. So we will help you with that as well. And of course, account creation and maintenance service via the NUADU service team. So accounts for the students, teachers, principals, and parents. And next is interactive live teacher training sessions and materials for self-practice. Ongoing assistance and support with your educational consultant. And as I've mentioned, 24/7 chat support with NUADU experts. All right, so before I end, that's pretty much the end of my presentation, but to formally end it, let me just provide some additional parting words or phrases. Now, as I've been saying, with the current circumstance that we have opted for, or the majority of us would really have to opt for distance learning or remote learning. Now, of course, we want to allow education to move forward, even if it's after the pandemic and so on and so forth. But as I've mentioned, our learning continuity plan need not to be a stopgap solution for a crisis. So hindi po siya pwedeng, in layman's term, yung band-aid solution. Just for us to be able to start the school year for next year, just for us to be able to accommodate our students and so on and so forth. That should not be our mindset when it comes to implementing these platforms. Because at the end of the day, implementing these platforms, Microsoft Teams and the NUADU online platform, this will be a part of your school already. Meaning, as the school grows or as the education continues within your school, it would already be a part of your school. Yung parents, hahanap-hanapin na nila, yung students, since they are already well-versed with it, hahanap-hanapin na nila for the next school year, even if it's already after the pandemic. So, what I would really want to say is that the implementation that we will do would the best possible scenario would be for it to be a long-term implementation. Kasi nga, again, these platforms or the technology-aided education, we cannot escape it anymore. It will be with us in the long run talaga. All right. Besides, there are other instances na nasa-suspend yung class, then we are already equipped to overcome those obstacles. All right, so again, with that, I end my presentation, and thank you so much, everyone, again, for joining this webinar. And we can now proceed with the question and answer portion. Siguro. Just unshare my screen here. Ayan.
Please check the mic.
You're on mute, Miss Michaela.
Thank you so much, Sir Sly or Sir Sylvester of NUADU, for sharing with us all the features of NUADU, from the students' point of view until the administrators na cover niya na. So one question that keeps on popping up, no, is can you give us like a major advantage of NUADU over other online platforms?
Well, I would say if I would only be able to give one, it is how groundbreaking and diverse the analytics and the personalization when it comes to the delivery of the assessments that we have. Kasi sabi ko nga kanina, at the end of the day, no matter how many platforms that we have when it comes to delivering our lessons, the discussions, the different materials that we've had, if we do not have a very a way to assess our students or to validate their learning, then everything or most of the efforts that we've done will be for.
Correct. I agree. Yes, maybe we can accommodate some more questions. Marami po nagtatanong, is NUADU just for math and science, or is it also possible for other teachers of other subjects? Can they use it as well, especially in Filipino?
Yes, I believe I've mentioned this as well. Yung the reason why dun sa presentation ko, you've only seen science and math kasi the teacher account that I was using is handling science and math only. Now, if the teacher is handling English or Filipino, then lalabas sa kanya is English Filipino. Of course, we do not want it to happen na yung teacher Filipino and English or Filipino and math lang yung hinahandle niya, and then nakakakita siya ng ibang subject.
Yes.
Science and other subject, which it will be very confusing for the teacher.
I agree.
But yes, pretty much every subject that a school has, it can be done within or through NUADU.
Yes, correct. And even doctorate classes, Sir Sly, can this be accommodated as well?
Yes. Even doctorate classes for higher education. As a matter of fact, we also have different partners or different programs running using NUADU. We have the one for the Philippine Pharmacists Association, wherein they provide training for a specific examination or assessment for a license.
Tama. So, kahit po hindi pang lower grades, so you
Yes.
just need to give they just need to give their curriculum, correct, or their
Yes,
program.
their curriculum. So every school, so aside from the DepEd, yung sa DepEd curriculum natin, I understand that there are schools, especially within the private schools, na mas gusto nila may additional curriculum or more advanced, I would say. So all the school has to do is to provide us with the current curriculum that they are using, and the contents that they want to be the contents that they have to be uploaded in NUADU. Then we can combine the readily available contents with the contents that the school has, giving them a more an ability, or giving them more flexibility when it comes to the different assessments that they can provide.
Correct. Ito sir, marami nagtatanong, no? Is NUADU available offline? And if yes, teka lang is NUADU, can students answer offline, then can students answer offline, then send online when they are done? Sorry for that.
Meaning like download the exams or the activity first and then answer it and then
Correct.
online. Basically they can, but of course again they cannot the answers, or they will not get any results if they are not online. So it should still be online if they want to get the results right away. But yes, they can. Once they open the questions, they can view the questions and then they can answer it.
So sir, pwede bang mag-gradean yon ng teachers once makuha nila yung answers from the students?
Well, if it's offline or hindi pa nila nakuha yung, kasi yung actual marking, it is done by the system. So if offline yung student natin, then dun sa activity tile ni teacher, katulad ng pinakita ko kanina, yung sa show result, then hindi pa makikita ni teacher yung actual mark or yung actual grade ni student. So the student needs to be online for the teacher to be able to view the result as well.
All right.
Yung, it's a matter of yung connection from the app or from the web browser with the NUADU to the server of NUADU.
Or okay. Paano naman sir kung mahina naman yung internet connection? Anong ma-advise mo when they're using NUADU? Anong pwedeng workaround kaya na magagawa nila?
Well, when it comes to the internet connection, I understand that meron ngang mahina. So even though mahina yung internet connection natin, as I've mentioned, the NUADU platform itself, it can be accessed kahit yung mababa yung signal, yung network natin or yung signal. So based on the test, even yung 250 kbps lang, they can already access the platform or still enjoy the features of the platform. Of course, it would depend on the resource that they're trying to access. So dyan magkakatalo yan. Of course, if it's a video, we can assume na may kakaroon ng loading and so on and so forth.
Alternatively, sir, pwede ba silang like yung teacher, pwede bang mag-assign sa isang estudyante separately from the entire class na kunaring student na yon wala talagang access sa internet or talagang mahina yung access niya, pwede ba siyang assignan ng separate exam, for example, or assignment?
Yes, definitely. So katulad nung I've shown earlier when I was trying to show how to assign the assessments, you can select everyone or just select one student. So that way, if talagang walang internet connection si student, so kunyari in a class, 20 yung students natin and then merong dalawang walang internet connection, then we can provide yung, if needed, yung printed activity. Yung print activity option natin within the activities in NUADU, we can use that as well. So parang with the platform, we can go both ways. So we have a way to provide assessment online, and if they are offline, then we can provide the printed activities as well.
Correct. So may ganong klaseng flexibility po si NUADU. That's great to know. Siguro technical question, no? Is it possible to access NUADU on a cell phone, like a low-end cell phone, yung medyo mura lang? And will they have the same like interface like what you would have on a desktop?
Well, yes. The NUADU itself actually has an app for smartphones, but if let's say yung device ni student did not meet the requirements for the NUADU app, which is the actual requirement is that it should be at least Android 6.0 as the software. But anyway, if the student has Android 5.0 lang yung meron siya, as long as he or she has the browser, they can access it. So it's for mobile devices, we have the app and then we have the browser as well. So of course, when it comes to the browser, yung comparing it to the browser sa desktop or say sa laptop, the representation would be different kasi ino-optimize nung NUADU server natin yung viewing experience or user experience ng user when it comes to the device that they are using.
Yes, agree. Sir, my question dito from Miss Arlene Mahia. So I know you've discussed this already during your presentation, but I think it's also good to highlight, no? Not all learners have the same capability. There are fast, average, and slow. In classroom setting, teachers provide differentiated instruction for those slow learners. In this online teaching, are we going to make modular for those slow learners and make a different online activity that fits their capability? How does NUADU help with that?
Yes, thank you for that very good question, Ma'am Arlene. Yes, that is definitely possible within the NUADU platform. As I mentioned, yung kunyari, my example earlier was when it comes to the assessments, I grouped the class into two, green group and black group. So yung green group, those are the students that are having challenges or yung medyo slow yung learning pace nila. And the black group are the ones who are excelling within the subject. So what I would do to personalize this or to provide differentiated learning, I would provide different materials for my green group, different set of questions or activities for that group compared to the black group. So more on advanced topics sa black group siguro and then harder questions. So that's how we can do personalized learning within the NUADU platform.
Mm-mm. And yun nga rin po yung isa sa mga nagustuhan ko sa features ng NUADU, no? It's very simple or easy for a teacher to manage a class na iba't iba po yung pacing, kumbaga.
Exactly.
So, yes. Maybe we could answer some Microsoft-related questions since there is an integration, no? Is it necessary that the students have their Microsoft Team account so that you can add them to a class?
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Is it necessary that the students have their own Microsoft Team account before we can add them in our class?
Well, ideally, if you're going to do your class within Microsoft Teams, yes, they would need a Microsoft Teams access as well. But depending on the school admin, kasi Microsoft Teams has this guest feature wherein they can invite a guest. So that may work as well. But that's based on my experience. So this will vary depending on the license that you will have with Microsoft. So I guess we can save that question for our speaker tomorrow, which provides yung certification for Microsoft, so that he can give a more specific answer for that. But in my experience, you can invite guests na wala silang Microsoft Teams access.
Related to that, sir, yung license, no? One or some of our participants were trying to log in, like they were trying to find NUADU in their Teams account, but they are saying that you are actually using a different Teams interface. Is that included in the A1 license? Like they don't have the class feature, for example, on the side of the Teams app?
What do you mean? They are logged into Microsoft Teams. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. But they don't have the same tabs as you have on your Teams account that you were using a while ago.
Yeah, because I believe the Microsoft Teams access that they have is the organizational access for the school. So this is just communication between school personnel, not necessarily with the students. Now, the icons that I have, the access that I have that I've shown in my presentation earlier is that of the A1 license.
So they would need an A1 license to have those features.
But of course, that the A1 license, I would say, if they already have a Microsoft license, they can get A1 license for their students and then for the teachers, and then they can also keep their own Microsoft license as well.
Yes, from our knowledge, no, the Microsoft A1 license is free for both students and teachers. Para po sa mga nagtatanong.
Yes.
Last, I think I'm just looking at one last question to entertain. So yan, if you want to avail of NUADU, do you give demo accounts? And how do we contact you if you want to subscribe?
Yeah, for those who wants to learn more about NUADU and then or wants to introduce NUADU to their school, you can easily reach us out. You can either do it through I would suggest doing it through Big Pond's page. So
Yes.
Big Pond and yung sa page nila, then you can message them and then let them know that you want to know more about NUADU, and then we can get in touch with you that way. We also have the, if I'm not mistaken, we have the feedback form at the end of this webinar series. So you can also provide your intent there, and then we will follow up with you.
Yes, correct. So any last words, Sir Sly, before we end?
Yes, sure. So again, I would like to thank everyone for joining this webinar series. So if you have not watched day 1, day 2, day 3, I would recommend that you watch those so that you can understand more. You can understand more about setting up your education continuity or learning continuity plan, and so on. All right, and again, I know you have joined different webinars as well with different platforms, but I would say that all of us within the education sector, education industry, I would really say that we are all in this together to overcome the challenges that we have right now when it comes to the pandemic. So I would like to, I hope that everyone is safe and at the comfort of their homes, and I would hope that everyone would keep safe. All right. And again, thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you, Sir Sly. And with that, we formally end our day 4 of our webinar series. Thank you so much for joining us from day 1 to day 4. Alam ko po, it takes commitment, and we appreciate your desire to learn more about technologies which can help us with our teaching our students and to continue this school year successfully. And I know marami sa inyo nagstay for the raffle winner announcement. Thank you so much. And our raffle winner for today is Miss Colleen Ann Labor of Philippine Women's College of Davao. So congratulations, Miss Colleen. If you are watching right now, please do send us a message and we will send your prize, a Microsoft t-shirt and Microsoft notebook to your address. So congratulations, Miss Colleen. So tomorrow, our last day, please join us. And if you have any insights that you want to share with us or any learnings that you have, please use the hashtag Education Continuity Plan PH and hashtag Isulong Edukasyon. So for our last day, you will learn how you can upskill through Microsoft certification and generate additional school income. I'm sure a lot of you are very interested in that. So see you tomorrow, same time and same platform. All right. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.